I Am Man. We are a resource hub that strengthens men and those who are navigating the various phases of life and manhood. We are building a safe space where every man's story matters. We advocate, educate, coach, and empower men on how to redefine their narratives by taking back their power to choose who they desire to be. We provide the space and roadmap for them to reclaim their authentic manhood and masculinity while providing resources that enable them to become whole contributors to their families and communities. Yo, what's up, everybody? Hey, this is your boy Robert Marshall. I'm so excited about what's popping, what's going on. Listen, we are here back on the I Am Man podcast. We are launching our first webinar series of this new season. This new season, our webinar series entitled Dadding 101. Yo, it's gonna be hot, and I'm really excited about all that we're going to have and all that we're going to be doing, all that we're going to be talking about. And today, I'm really excited to have one of my guys who you guys, we've had him on the show before. He's been rocking with us for some time. He's just not only on our show, he's just rocking, period. He's a co-author of the book of he's the co-author of the we co-authored a book together, him, myself, and Stephen Donahue. What's up, Steve? If you listening, we co-authored a book called What Every Man Needs to Know. Yo, and that book, it is straight fire. It is straight fire. And since then, I've gotten to know this brother. He's out here doing it. He's the CEO of Lead One LLC, where he's helping people break generational cycles. Man, he's out here doing it. So, yo, I want to welcome y'all. Everybody, give a big high five, big shout out, some love to my boy, Mr. Darnell Weathersby. He's out here killing it. What's up, D? How you feeling, bro?
Feeling good. Thanks for having me on tonight, man. I am ready to just get in and motivate some men tonight. Definitely.
Yo, man. So we're tonight we're gonna jump right in and we're talking about fathers, bro. We're talking about dadding. The theme is dadding 101. And
Yeah.
man, fatherhood is a gift, bro. It's a gift.
Yes.
I know it saved my life, it changed my life. I have
No doubt.
three beautiful children. I have a 5-year-old boy, I have a 4-year-old boy, and I have a 2-year-old girl.
Nice.
And they have drastically changed my life. Yo, so tell me about your kids, man.
So I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. So I mean, there's no dull moments when it comes to fatherhood. No
Right,
dull
right,
moments when
right.
it comes to just nurturing them and giving them what they need. And a lot of times giving them what they need is giving them what you didn't receive. But we'll get into that a little
Mm,
bit, definitely.
dude. So what has been your proudest moment as a father?
Mm. So I think the biggest thing is just when my daughter accepted Christ at the age of 8, just having her coming to a personal realization and knowledge of what it means to follow Christ. And by God's grace, that being an example that my wife and I were able to lay down for her, and that she was able to, navigate that decision on her own. That was real for me because as men, we're called to be shepherds of our home. So it's one thing to go out and try to save the world, but if your own children don't know them, that's a whole nother conversation. So just to see her
Yeah,
walking in faith, bless my heart, man.
that's love, man. I'm glad to hear that. I think for me, one of my proudest moments for my sons, I think I continue to have proud moments. I don't think I've had like just one moment, but as my children continue to grow, as they continue to just be, I get encouraged, I get motivated, I get happy just seeing them be great, man. And
Yeah,
so I'm legit sitting here like my kids, seeing them grow, seeing them read, like I'll cry at the drop of a dime, man. My kids, my daughter, she's 2 years old and she's being potty trained right now. And
Mm,
today she walked up and she's like, "Daddy, I potty in the big. I went to the bathroom in the big potty." And I'm like, "Baby, the big potty." And so, you know, that's where I'm at right now, man. I'm at
that's
that
real.
phase.
I remember
So
those days.
yeah, man. I have, and my daughter, man, she is my world. She is my world. I love my boys too, but it's something being a dad and you got a baby girl, man.
True
I don't
story.
care what anybody says,
True story.
dude.
True story.
Listen, man. You are an educator. You are a minister. You do so much stuff, man. And I think our conversations flow so well because what you do is endless. So, as an educator, what is one thing that you wish that fathers knew,
Mm,
that fathers knew, um, as they continue to parent as they, because they have children. What do you think? What is the one thing that you think that you would want fathers to know, or you think they should know about their children this day and age?
your presence is priceless.
Mm,
Say it again for those who didn't hear. Your presence in the life of your children is priceless. There's no amount of gifts, there's no amount of money that can replace you just being present. So
yeah.
many fathers don't see their immense value. And as educators, a lot of times we notice when they're absent the gaping holes that are left in the development of children. So
Yeah.
what I would say to fathers is before the damage is done, understand your worth. Once again, you don't have to be the perfect father, but if you're just engaged daily, that is setting up your child for a trajectory of success that you can't even comprehend right now in your day-to-day understanding of your child. Just being there, being present, and giving those words of affirmation, priceless, because we see the damage of when fathers don't. And I want to encourage those who are and those who are going to be starting, your presence is priceless.
Yo, that's actually really big, and not just physical. Like most men, we think sometimes because we provide, or we
Yeah.
can, or we can give gifts, or you pay child support,
Yep.
then we're considered a good dad. And to be
So
honest,
much.
me as an educator as well, there's so many holes and gaps in the lives of children. And
Yeah.
so, number one, presence will not replace your presence, just
Not at
like you
all.
just
Come on.
um,
Come
and
on.
and one thing my wife used to say to me all the time, I talk about her all the time. "What's up, boo? I see you, girl."
I know
Uh,
that.
what listen, one thing that people that my wife used to say to me all the time, "Robert, you're here, but you're not here."
Mm,
And
that's
dude,
real.
I used to be like, "What do you mean? Like, I'm here, I'm sitting here, like, I'm not out doing something else."
Yeah.
And she and it triggered me one day when my son said to me, because I was doing something, and he kept patting me, patting me, patting me, patting me, patting me, patting me, patting me.
Yep.
And my wife is like, "Robert, don't you hear him? Don't you see him?" And I'm just like, I was so going on my phone. I was
Yep.
so going, I'm thinking about my business. I'm thinking about work. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about all these other things. And I'm like, yo, I'm home. He physically sees me, and that's not enough, bro. And
Yeah.
I think, and I think I didn't realize I was doing to my sons what was done to me,
Come
where
on.
I was physically present, but I wasn't present with them. And
Emotionally
man,
gone. Yeah.
um, dude, like
Yeah.
your children have to be the top priority. Like
Yeah.
they have, and you have to intentionally, just like, and I've learned, just like you intentionally go to work, just like you intentionally
Yeah.
Go do whatever you got scheduled. You have to intentionally spend time with your children.
And I think it's layers to that, if you don't mind. So I think one
Go
of the
ahead, bro.
best gifts we can give our children is for them to know that they are valued, but that the world doesn't revolve around them. Like they need to
Mm,
know, Daddy loves me so much that he goes to work, and Daddy has obligations, Daddy has responsibilities, so that he can provide, so that he can be there for me. But my world doesn't revolve around him. There are other priorities in his life. Now I'm at the top of the list, but I'm not his everything. And I think that's a lot of times the mistake we as fathers can make if we come from brokenness. We try to give our kids everything as opposed to letting
mm,
them see you are a priority, but life doesn't revolve around making you happy. And I think as
that's
men,
good.
as fathers, we get a chance to teach them that early. So when we send them out into the world, they understand I'm valuable, I'm important, but the world doesn't revolve around me.
That's good, man. So how do you do that? How do you practically
Man,
do that? Because I think with my children, there's nothing that my children in if my children ask for it for the most part,
yeah,
they get it for the most part.
yeah.
Some things. Um, but how do you where is that line? How do you do that?
So I think, and once again, you're talking to a man who's developing the playbook as he goes. So by no means do I have it perfected, but I think we have an opportunity through, as for example, as my children get older, have an opportunity to have discussions with them and say, hey, I know you want those new pair of shoes. And by the grace of God, daddy and mommy are going to get you those shoes. But here's also some other things that are going on in our household. Here's some other things that we're budgeting for, we're planning for, we're strategically making sure happen. Your shoes are on that list, but here's what's going on outside of what you need. So I think just little conversations like that help them see a bigger picture and get a bigger understanding of there are other things going on in the world. Other people have needs, and therefore what you need isn't number one priority, but it is important.
I totally agree with that. I think that creates a balanced experience for your child, and they can learn empathy, they can learn, respect,
Yeah,
man, they can learn so many things when we position them and set them up for success in that way,
no doubt.
and it takes away entitlement.
Yes. Now you're talking. Now you're
Have you ever
talking,
seen some entitled kids, man?
man. Well, I think it's it's one of those things where once again, because many of us as men come from a background of brokenness and dysfunction, we overdo it. So it's not that we're trying to
Mm,
create entitled kids. We're just trying to make sure they don't go without physically and emotionally like we did. I always joke and say, man, my first pair of name brand shoes didn't happen until I got my first job at 14. I was the Payless
right.
king, you know?
Dude,
So, but the
Payless,
thing is
boy.
if it, because of that deficit, I overdo it sometimes because I'm like, no, man, nobody gonna talk about my kids the way people talk about me. Nobody gonna clown them like they clown me. But then my kids don't understand what it means to not want. And I'm not saying make your kids intentionally struggle, but they need to understand like every blessing they receive, it could be different. They need to
Yeah,
understand what the other
man.
side of that coin looks like.
Talking about the value of hard work. I think that's so first of all, I wanna say Payless was name brand to me.
True story.
My mother shopped at Goodwill and the Salvation Army
Come
and
on.
yard sales.
Come on.
All of my shoes, all every pair of shoes that I owned came
Yeah,
from the Salvation Army,
yeah,
Goodwill, or they were from somebody's yard sale.
true
And
story.
bro, I was traumatized, bro. I was traumatized. Yo, I remember this one time my mom got me these white Reeboks
Come on
that were
now.
like back in the day they had like it was like this checkered like type of Reebok shoe. But then Reeboks, anybody who knew Reeboks from back in the day, them joints puffed up so big after a while, and they were white, bro. I used to put the white polish on them, and I polished them shoes so much that the
Yeah.
white polish started coming on black because the shoes was
Oh,
just I refused to let them go, man. And so I was traumatized. Mama, I was traumatized. Like Goodwill knew my mama so well till
yeah.
this day. Before their shipment comes in, before they put it on the floor, bro, they call my mother and ask her, "Hey, do
Oh,
you want to come look through any of the stuff before it goes on?" Bro, my mom got a VIP pass at
wow.
Goodwill and Salvation Army. Yeah, bro, it was real.
But it made you the man you are today.
Man, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing, bro, because I got a whole closet full of Jordans and Nikes, and
Yeah,
my
yeah,
kids are the
yeah,
same thing. But dude, in all honesty, I totally agree with you, and I am for teaching and I don't think there's anything wrong with giving your kids nice things, but I
yeah,
also am an advocate for teaching them the importance of hard work, bro.
yep.
I started when I got married to my wife, I had nothing. We both had nothing.
Come
And
on.
anything and everything that we have, of course, by the grace of God,
No doubt.
and through hard work and
Yeah,
tears and sweat, we've been able to accumulate a few things,
no
in
doubt.
this world. And so, but one thing, we try to teach our kids um, about earning and working hard for what they want. And
Yeah.
so and I'll give this brief example. We went on vacation, and we're trying to teach our kids how to save money. So every time they got a pretty good down pat. Every time that they get money, they put it in their piggy bank because we save that piggy bank for when we go on vacation. That is their money.
Mhm.
So the piggy bank, they put money in the piggy bank, put it in there, and then when it was time to go on vacation, they were like, "Hey, daddy, we want to go to the arcade." I said, "Okay, you got your own money." They wanted all these toys. My kids had saved up at least $500 to $600 in their little piggy bank. Bruh, I was like, "Yo, y'all treat me out to dinner." Like, they saved, like, $500-600, and they were able to get whatever they wanted because they saved that money all year to get that to do what they wanted to do.
That's what's up.
We also have chores, like, "Hey, you want this? Then you need to do this."
Yeah,
So, how
yeah.
do you what would you tell, new fathers or parents who are trying to teach their children responsibility, and the value of a dollar. Like, how do we go about doing that, Darnell?
Man, I think because that's kind of where we're at right now. So it's like giving you some money, helping you understand little things like, okay, if I give you $1, for example, 50 cents you keep, 25 cents goes in tithing, 25 cents is going in your piggy bank for savings, so just little strategic things. I think is a place to start. And then also like, there's this delicate balance of, you know, staying in a child's place, like the old folk used to say. So how do I
Yeah,
not give you too much information, but let you know enough? So like, if we go out to eat, let's say the bill is $100. They don't need to know it was $100, but they do need to know, hey, mom and dad just took you out to a very nice restaurant. Let's dress accordingly. Let's look accordingly. Let's act accordingly because this is a blessing. So I think it's more so a mindset, not so much a monetary understanding, but just help them see, if we go somewhere nice, you look nice and you act accordingly. So just the little things to help them prepare themselves mentally for enjoying and having nice things, I think is a precursor to the money management part of things. I think it's just more of a mindset of here's how we conduct ourselves, period. You know?
Yeah, I feel you on that. I my children, so my children are blessed, man. We're blessed. My
Yeah,
children are blessed.
yeah,
Um, and my children, they have an amazing nanny, who loves them, and they got aunties and
yeah,
theos and uncles
yeah.
who, if I don't get it, they'll get it. I remember the
No
first
doubt,
time, man,
no doubt.
my mother-in-law walked in the house with tablets, and I'm thinking to myself, like, whoa, like, wait a
Yeah,
minute. My kids now are introduced to the internet. Now my 5-year-old is asking me for an iPhone. Yo, I I'm I'm sitting here like, yo, do I get him this iPhone or not at
yeah,
5 years old? Because and it's and I'm thinking like I'm not buying an iPhone, but I'm sure between now and Christmas, somebody somewhere is gonna try to buy him an iPhone.
oh
Uh,
no.
I don't know how, and so I'm trying to at the same time be a good father to teach them
Yeah,
the importance of the importance of working hard, the importance of earning something, but also trying to keep them in a kid's place. Try and
yeah,
and so Darnell, how do we as parents, especially for those who are millennial parents, because I
yeah.
think some of the older generation, y'all do pretty. I'm saying y'all,
Oh,
the
you
older
coming at me, man.
generation,
You coming at me.
the older generation, you guys do pretty well with that because you were closer to the old school way of growing up.
Yeah, I'm
You
right
said
on that edge, man. Right on
you're
that
right on
edge.
the edge, yeah, but right down, you're on the other side of the edge. Uh, um, I think for younger parents, you have some millennials who are parents, you have people who are younger who are part of the next generation who are
Yeah,
just starting to have kids now. So,
yeah.
uh, what advice would you give them to protect their children and to because I'll say this, part of being a father is protecting, is
Oh, that
protecting
is
your
part of the
children.
job. Yeah.
That is part of the job. How do you protect your child's innocence? How do you protect what they see, what they hear? How do you do
Yeah.
that?
So I mean, so and this is just me and my mindset and how we raised our kids pre-pandemic. So pre-pandemic, there was no TV and no screen time during the week. You pick up a book, you arts and crafts, use your mind, finish your homework, whatever. And then on the weekends, we have Friday night movie night as a family, and we just kind of ease back into screen time over the course of the weekend. So that was their norm up to March of this year, and then everything got flipped on his head. So I think to answer your question, creating some deliberate boundaries for your children to say, hey, I don't mind if you listen to some songs, but some songs you just not old enough, period. Daddy said,
Yeah.
because as men, we know music has power, movies plant seeds, and they may not manifest themselves for years, but it still planted the seed. So I'm very protective of my children's mindset and emotions. What's being deposited into them? What are they listening to on the radio? What are they listening to in their rooms and their radio or whatever? What movies are they watching on TV? I'm previewing everything because I need to know what's being sold into their spirit. So I think a lot of times as men, we think protection and we think, fending off like a physical attack. But I think we need to be just as urgent to say, how am I protecting your mind so that you can develop in a way that is strategic, if you will? You know, if you have a preteen, my daughter turns 10 next year. So there are some things conversations I need to begin having with her to prepare her for her teenage years that are going to be here quick. But she doesn't need to know it at 10. You see what I'm saying? So I think some of it is having enough vision to say, Where do I see my child at 10 years old, at 13 years old, at 16 years old? And then strategically, like you said, that village, not only am I the protector of her, but who are her friend groups? Who are their parents?
Yeah.
You know, so just really being very strategic and protective to say, I'm only going to let in what I deem appropriate, and everything else you got to go through me, you know. And I think once again, we said the power of a man is being present. You can't be protector and you can't set up boundaries if you're not present. If you don't
Yeah,
know
man.
what your child's going through on a daily basis, how can you say yes to this and no to that? So I think a
Dude,
lot
yeah,
of things, go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead, bro. Go
Now
ahead.
I'm just saying a lot of things slip in because we're asleep at the wheel. As men, we let things slip in knowingly or unknowingly because we're not on duty, we're not on our job the way we need to be, and our children suffer as a result.
That is very true, man. I think it's important, and because that means we have to check us and ask ourselves as
True
fathers,
story.
where are we?
Yeah,
What's capturing our attention? What are
yeah,
we listening to? What are
yeah,
we because this is what I've learned. I got a 5-year-old son.
yeah,
He watches everything. He listens to every conversation.
yeah,
Me and my mom, me and my wife will be talking, and we're not even talking to him. And he'll say, well, mommy said X, Y, and Z, or daddy, you said this. And I'm thinking like he was quiet. We didn't know he was paying attention, but
yeah.
now he's at that age where he's a sponge.
He
So
letting it all
so
out.
so brothers, you have to watch. Like, are your conversations safe? Are your
Mhm.
conversations wholesome? Are what you're watching wholesome? Is
Yeah,
it, is it and I would have to say wholesome. Is it safe? Because I'm
yeah,
not saying as men you can't have fun, you can't let your hair down, but
right.
you got to be careful because what you feed your children are also they're feeding off of it too,
No
even
doubt.
if you don't realize it that it's happening. So
Yeah.
you got to check. One of my mentors said, and I'll shout him out. Edward Newsom said this to me before I had kids. He said to me, he said, "Yo," he said, "I don't let anybody around my children, or I don't entertain anybody in my circle that I would not feel comfortable leaving my kids with."
Mhm. That's real.
Now, for him, that was a bit extreme, but he was like, if I can't leave my children with them, if I can't trust that my children be okay in their presence,
Yep.
then why would I be around them? Because
Understood.
if my children see me with them, they may think it's okay to
Yep.
be around this type. So that's, man, and
That's real.
that's become my motto. If you're not safe,
Yep.
yo, you don't get an invite to my house.
Yeah.
Regardless if you family, I'm not going to your house. We're not kicking it. We're not chilling because
Yep.
I want to protect my children. I want to protect my family, not only my
That's real.
children, but my
That's real.
family. And so you have to, when you have a child, if you are a budding father, if you have a baby on the way, or maybe you got teenagers,
Yeah.
yo, what are you doing? Because they see you,
No doubt.
regardless if they say anything or not, they see you. Who are your
Yeah.
friends? How do you speak to your friends? How do you speak to your significant other? They all that stuff goes into raising or a child, dadding,
Yeah.
yo. So dadding is very real. It's a full-time job.
No doubt.
And I think, if I could use a word to describe it, it's selflessness.
Yeah.
It's sacrifice,
All
to
day.
make sure, because every word that you say, everything that your child says, everything that you say to your child, and if they see you do, it's a seed.
Yes. Yes.
And I know that's your key point. Go ahead. It's a seed. Go ahead, brother.
No, so I think one of my mentors frequently uses the phrase, for example, manhood is caught, not taught. So back to what you were saying, a lot of what we do as men and as fathers, our children are catching it because they're catching things we intentionally teach and things we just are. So once again, your kids see you in private and in public, so they know, hey, you can talk a good game when you leave this house, but I see you cussing and fussing at everybody in this house. So I think they're seeing the whole picture. So I think one of the best things we can do as fathers is paint a consistent picture, not of
Wow.
perfection, but a consistent picture of integrity, a consistent picture of what it means to be consistent and follow through and be a man of your word. And, those are things that they catch. And then they look up and they're young adults and teenagers and going off to college. And, even now I see my kids or hear my kids repeating things I say often. Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
yes. And sometimes I'm like, yo, you heard that, huh? So it's like we have to be cognizant. We have to be careful. Like, man, like you said, they're sponges. They are picking up everything. So you got to be deliberate. What seeds are we sowing? What habits are we modeling? What attributes do we want them to replicate? And if we don't want them to replicate it, then we got to check ourselves and say, hey, I don't want my son to emulate this. I don't want my daughter to look for this in another
Right.
man. So I got to check myself. So I'm giving them the best example possible of what they're going to look for or look to emulate one day.
When you do that and when you're intentional about spending time with your children, that your presence, I heard somebody say the biggest gift that you can give your child is your presence,
Oh,
is
and
your attention,
no question.
is your time, is your time. Man,
Yeah.
regardless of how old they are,
Yeah.
regardless if you have adult children, if you have
Yep.
young children, if you have infants, man, that time is a gift that they will never forget. They'll forget about the stuff,
Yep.
all the stuff, the technology will fade, you know, things will change, but one thing they will never forget about is about the time that their daddy spent with them.
Without doubt.
Man, to be honest, um, I have one, most memorable moment that I think that was life-changing for me was, I remember my stepfather, it wasn't we weren't super close, because he wasn't really present, but I
Yeah.
remember the one time he did, and it changed the trajectory of a portion of my life,
Wow.
as far as people ask me about my work ethic. Why do I work so hard?
Yeah.
Because I had a stepfather who wasn't, emotionally available, wasn't physically half the time available, but that Negro knew how to work. I'm telling you, you couldn't outwork that man. And
Yeah.
I never forget one time it was raining outside and he wanted me to cut the grass. And I'm
Mm.
thinking like, it's raining outside. I'm not cutting no grass.
Right.
And he came out, and I tried to run behind my mom. They weren't going this time. And I went outside, cut the grass, and he was outside cutting grass with me.
Wow.
And I don't know what revelation kicked in my head then, but because he was present,
Yeah.
he didn't send me to do it. He was out there with me doing it. Man, it instilled in me a work ethic that said, "Yo, I don't care what's happening in my life."
Yep. Yep.
Like it instilled in me like this drive to
Yeah.
say, "Yo, I'm a beast and I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna do this,
Let's
come
go.
hell, high water, or regardless of circumstances." That
Yep.
one moment was because of that. My life was drastically changed because of that one moment.
Wow. Wow. I think that was like you said. Those are the moments that you always don't even plan for. He didn't plan, I'm sure, to say it's raining and I'm gonna go out there with him. But he understood the power of leading by example. The power of saying, not only do I think it's important we get this job done and we mow this grass, I'm gonna get out here with you. Because many a dad would have just stayed in the house and yelled out the window. Your stepdad took it upon himself to say, this is important enough for me to join you in this labor. So I think, that's very intentional that we have to be able to model that work ethic for our kids. You can't say hard work is important and then they always see us on the couch chilling. Like, They need to see us, once again, getting up, going to work, providing a livelihood for them, while at the same time having balance to say work isn't everything. Work is important, work is vital, but there has to be balance. We got to model that for them as well.
I agree, man. I totally agree, man. So, dude, I have so much respect for you and what you do, and who you are as a man. Um, at the same time, I want you to, um, I want you to speak to us, man, about
Yeah.
what is what is a point that you want to leave with fathers who may have not had the privilege of being in relationship with their children, and now their children are grown and they're trying to rebuild those bridges.
So I would
What would you
say
say?
it's going to take humility first and foremost. As a man who has not been present, you have to own up to the baggage that has been created. You got to own that. You got to take that. If you weren't there and you've missed monumental milestones in that child's life, be the first to apologize. Be the first to be repentant. Be the first to see and acknowledge, I've hurt you. Be the first one to say, I'm sorry for not being there for you. They need to hear that come out of your mouth, Dad. And once you're able to man up and do that, then you have to have the patience to allow them to let you in. Once again, I grew up in an estranged relationship with my dad. And as an adult is when I actually got to know him. As an adult is when I actually got to do life with him from a distance. He lived in another state for 95% of my life, but we were able to rekindle that relationship in college and beyond. So I say that to say I'm not telling you something I heard about. I'm telling you that it's possible because God made it possible in my life to restore that broken relationship. But my dad was humble enough to acknowledge I totally dropped the ball. Your mom did a phenomenal job raising you, and kudos to her. She did it in spite of me, without me. But he also acknowledged that he wanted to have a meaningful relationship with me to not make up for lost time, but to make the most of the time we still had together. Unfortunately, he passed away this past March, but I was able to have a season of my adulthood with him present. He was there when I graduated from college. He was in my wedding. He wasn't present for the birth of my children, but he was emotionally available for me as I navigated through that process of fatherhood. So no situation is going to be perfect, but as a father, you have to be the first one to acknowledge, apologize, and be prepared to win the trust of your child back because it's been broken. That trust has been shattered. Fathers must take the first step to restore and initiate that trust again.
That's big, man. That's very true, man. I think that was powerful. I'm not even going to touch that, man. I'm just so glad that you were able to join me tonight. Yo,
Yes,
man,
sir.
you dropped some knowledge like always,
Hey, this was
man. And so you're an amazing man. You're an amazing father. You guys, if you don't know, if you don't follow him, yo, look him up. Lead One LLC. He's
yeah.
on Instagram. Darnell Weathersby. You can find him on Instagram, Facebook. But he's doing amazing things, helping men
Okay.
and women alike break cycles,
Yes,
generational
sir.
cycles, to become
Yeah.
better. Men to become better. Women to be whole.
Yeah.
That's his whole thing. And so
Yeah.
he also wrote a book. What was the name of your personal book?
Journey to fatherhood.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Just to kind of recap a little bit, for any information about myself, whether it's a speaking opportunity or an opportunity to facilitate a workshop, you can go to our website, theleadonemovement.com, and you can inquire about our apparel line, about our books, downloadable resources, and just an opportunity to connect and help you as you navigate different seasons of life and break generational curses. We're a firm believer that we all have a sphere of influence, and therefore, how can we encourage you and equip you to make the most and maximize your season of influence, whatever that season might be? So, once again, follow us at Lead One LLC. Check out our YouTube channel, Lead One Movement, for many more videos and inspirational talks. God is moving in major ways, so definitely follow us and see how we're ending 2020 strong, and definitely how we're prepared to make things happen in 2021. So,
Man, what do you got? What do you have coming up?
right now, we're actually working on a video series for this book, Journey to Fatherhood, basically chronicling how to motivate fathers during the pregnancy process. I'm a firm believer that if we can catch men as early as possible, we increase the chances of them being present and fully engaged throughout the course of their child's life. So I'm a firm believer in catching men. The moment you find out you're going to be a dad, let's go. Let's start putting in work. Let's make sure you're reflecting. Let's make sure you're journaling. Let's make sure you're doing all those steps you need to take so that you're making sure you're mentally and spiritually and emotionally prepared to give out, because you can't give out what's not been invested in you. So just want to come around new dads. That's really on my heart. So if you're a new dad listening tonight, reach out, email us, reach us out, send us a message, see how we can connect and how we can help you grow.
Bro, that's love, man. You're always doing something cutting edge.
Man,
You're
trying.
always doing something cutting edge, man. You guys get follow him, get his stuff, man. He's an amazing guy. He has an
Thank
amazing family. I'm excited to know him. I say it like this: I don't know a lot of great people, but I'm glad that I know a few.
you.
And
Cool, man.
definitely Darnell is one of the few that I think he's doing a phenomenal job.
Man,
Man, thank you, Darnell, for jumping on with me today. I also want to put this out there for everybody
come
who's
on now.
watching. It's coming out. We wrote a children's book called Little Brown Boy. You can do all you set your mind to. You can pre-order Little Brown Boy at www.littlebrownboys.com. www.littlebrownboys.com. You can get this book in English and in Espanol. It's amazing, man. My children love it. So, like I said, grab my book. You can grab my book. Also, all three of us, you can purchase the book that we co-wrote together,
Yes,
called What Every Man Needs to Know. We This is a book that we co-wrote, man. We put our foot in it, our blood, sweat, and tears, and
yes,
it's
yes.
it's amazing. It's amazing read. Man, Darnell, you got some great pictures, and so does Steve, bro. So um it's called What Every Man Needs to Know. You can grab it. You can go to www.whateverymanneedstoknow.info to grab this book. All
Yes.
right, man. Thank you guys, man. Once again, thank you, Darnell, for joining me
Thank
for
you.
tonight's show. Yo, join us. We got a whole series coming up. We back in this piece. Yo, I feel so good to be back on the mic again. All right, you guys. I Am Man. We are a resource hub that strengthens men and those who are navigating the various phases of life and manhood. We are building a safe space where every man's story matters. We advocate, educate, coach, and empower men on how to redefine their narratives by taking back their power to choose who they desire to be. We provide the space and roadmap for them to reclaim their authentic manhood and masculinity while providing resources that enable them to become whole contributors to their families and community. All right, guys. Peace out. We love y'all.